Hey guys, I'm going to let you in my kitchen, okay? Don't judge me. I have herbs everywhere. I have jars everywhere. I have bottles everywhere. But I assure you, one of the things I do before I craft extracts, tinctures, lotions, things like that, I vacuum down every surface. I wipe it down again with a wet cloth to make sure it's hairless, dustless. And then I sterilize it with another cloth and wipe it down again and polish it so that I can see anything that might drop on the counters. So you'll probably see a little overspray in areas over here because I quickly cleaned it up when I set everything out to show you. Okay, just being honest. So I'm going to take you into the kitchen and show you the cheap way of being an Appalachian herbalist, because they didn't spend money on aesthetic. I promise you, they didn't have it to spend. Hold on now. So, let's walk over here. You will see a bag land on the stove that I just used. I'll show you where. So, Appalachian herbalism, any kind of herbalism, doesn't have to be expensive. But being that I am Appalachian, we use a lot of liquor bottles. And Mama Fix here still does. So I have bottles of hawthorn berry. I have the turmeric root that I do every day for inflammation. Ginger brandy for stomach problems, also good for inflammation and tasty. Barberry. And this is a good antibiotic, and I've used this a lot for psoriasis and upper respiratory infections. And then mullein, which you see here that I have made a bunch of extracts of mullein, and those wrapped in the plastic, or so I can tell them apart. This is turmeric root extract. But you'll notice something on my bar here. The only time I go to expense is when it's not mine, and I want it to be kept in nice, pure, sterile bottles and jars for people. I'll use a clean jar. Like I had 2 quart mason jars for these guys that I tinctured off this morning to make sure that they were absolutely sterile and everything coming out and going in was, ingestible. Something you want to think about if you're giving gifts or making for other family members. Now I want you guys to take a look at this. This is yellow dot tincture. And you can see how old it is, and I haven't strained it yet. And that's why I want you just to relax. This is also a good illustration. You don't have to worry about how long it sits if you don't get back to it. I know life is busy and it's hard. You can always come back to it. Now you'll notice how full of roots the jar is. That was a 1 to 5 tincture. And so when I say that about the 1 to 5, what I mean is 1 part herb to 5 parts alcohol. And as you can see, I always tell you to leave a little space at the top for shaking. These roots have swollen and just about taken up the whole jar. And that's not at all bad. It means you're going to have a nice strong tincture. I chunk these things up a lot. They're really, really chopped. But you want to be able to shake it. Shake it, shake it, shake it. And I tend to shake these hard. I'm trying not to shake it too hard while I'm holding a phone. But it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't get so caught up in, oh my God, I've got to pull it off on the last day of the 8 weeks or the last day of the 6 weeks. The Chinese never do this. They actually do a lot in vats with their herbalism. So they'll start it, and if they take some, they'll add back more alcohol to it and more herbs, and it gets exponentially stronger and stronger and stronger. And this can go on for years. So I want you to relax into your herbalism and actually enjoy it, guys. It's not a big deal. And you'll see I also do infused oils. And see, I don't get fancy. See, it's a duct tape label. I didn't have any labels at the house. All of my stuff is at work. So I made a duct tape label. And then on my tincture jar here, I just wrote on the jar. This capsule filler that you see here, the reason I've left this out is so that you know what to look for. You're looking for this machine. I usually go with the double aught. See the 00? That's a 750 milligram capsule. And you're going to have to get into things, weights and scales, because it won't always be 750 just because the capsule is full. It's going to depend upon the density of the powder. So you're going to want to get a good lab scale, and I'll show you one of those in a minute. But you don't have to buy that right away, and you don't have to get into capsules like that right away. But when I have jars, I want to show you this over here before I forget, that don't have good lids. They have these cheap lids that don't have the rings. I often line them, like on this plantain leaf right here. I line them with natural parchment. And that way I don't have to worry about rust getting into my mix, okay? So you'll notice I also keep like flaxseed and stuff in jars. And you'll also notice nothing's really in a dark jar. Because this is out of direct sunlight and away from heat. And as I've said many, many times before, in the 1920s, they weren't concerned about aesthetic. And they didn't have access to dark jars, like the green jars or the pretty indigo blue jars or the black jars or the brown jars, the ambers as people like to call them. They didn't have access to that. So in their houses, away from their windows, you would find shelves like mine, and my shelves are absolutely loaded with everything that you could possibly need for medical uses and for herbalism. And you can see it right there. And this is all you need. Or you need a closet, or, a bedroom shelf, whatever. You do not need to be so concerned about spending tons of money. If you don't have access to buy a dozen jars like this in a case, then buy one jar. Make your tincture in it. And then fill your liquor bottles, fill your wine bottles, get some from your family, if you've got leftover pickle jars. It doesn't have to be expensive, guys. It just needs to help save you and your family money and make you healthier. That's it. That's all there is. So let's turn around here and let's look at the lab scale that I use. So the lab scale I use has dozens of settings. It goes to gram weights. It's just, let me just run you through it. You see the scale changing to the different weights. This is what I'm talking about. There are kitchen scales that will do it, but kitchen scales are limited. So you want to make sure that you choose one that, if you're doing heavier weight items, that it's gonna be able to handle the weight. And so just read. I think this one is, 5,000 gram weight tear on it. So yeah, it does everything I need it to do. And then you're going to want a couple of little articles that are going to be life-saving to you. You don't have to have them, but these are excellent for filling jars. These are glass droppers. They're really heavy-duty, easy to clean, and not at all expensive, and that's the nice part. And then I left one of these uncovered for you so you can see. I use this huge syringe to make lotions and to fill lotion bottles with. And then you see all my lotion stuff. You see, I always have distilled water. I always have my oils and my preservatives and stuff like that sitting around. And today, in the Levo C, we are making a tincture of turmeric root. So right now it's activating, or what those of us in the industry would call decarboxylating. And that's just opening up the root or whatever herb you're using to give the menstruum access to the more hard to reach bioactive compounds. I hope that makes sense. And I always use vodka in my tinctures because a lot of people are gluten-free. And I'm one of those people that can't handle grain alcohol. Recently discovered I'm allergic to a lot of grain alcohol and wines. And it's not just the sulfate. So I was a little disappointed. So vodka's a good safe choice. If you want to do these tinctures or extracts in glycerin or apple cider vinegar, that's fine too. Just know that they won't have the strength of an alcohol extract, because alcohol pulls out more of the bioactive compounds than any other macerate you could use. So, but there you go, guys. This is my kitchen. I know I've been thusly judged, and that's okay. I don't care. Because this is what a real working herbalist kitchen looks like. So just be safe, be clean, don't worry about aesthetics, and have fun. Enjoy the journey.